Hello, this is Sarah Soiledplant and welcome back to my channel. I've been working on trying to organize some of my plants and getting new shelves in. It's been really hard to get in new furniture. These shelves in particular are ones from IKEA. Much like my Millsbo cabinets, I ended up going on their website and basically being alerted to whenever they got them in, and then bought them and picked them up the day that they were restocked. So I ended up getting 3 stands like this. So I was finally able to replace the one stand in my dining room. So this one's a little bit nicer looking than the wire kind of utilitarian one. And then I was able to move the wire one and the other 2 shelves into my plant room. I've been dying to give you guys new tours since I've moved to the new place, and like a full plant collection. I haven't done one in a minute, but I was waiting for the stands to come in and make sure that they're all good. Now, nothing is set yet, nothing is perfect, but I still wanted to give like this I still kind of wanted to do an informal tour to kind of just show like the progress and like an in-between. I'm just gonna be showing you kind of where the plant room is right now, and then this shelf and like the upgrade and what I did to it. And as soon as all the like styling and setup and everything is perfect, I will give you a full tour of the entire house, every single plant in my house. As soon as everything's done and all of my setup is exactly the way I want it, I will give you a full tour with all of my plants, but this is just kind of like an intermediate plant tour almost to kind of show you what progress has been made since I showed you this shelf in my plant room after my moving vlog. So enough with me, let's go look at the plants. This shelf replaced the kind of wire utilitarian one that I had here before. It has a bunch of shelves on it. I basically have little miscellaneous things down here that aren't plants clearly, and also things that the cats can't destroy. And right here on this level, I basically have things that are small enough that the cats don't get attracted to. You should recognize this philodendron from my last video. It still has the very sad leaf. The second leaf has gone up, and I've also repotted it since then, so hopefully that makes it a lot happier. I've got 2 Monstera standelianas over here. These are both from the same plant, and this one is very low variegation, and this one has a decent amount more. It's got some half moon situations going on, which are super cute, and they are currently in moss. I've also got a little Audaba poense cutting back here, and I noticed it today, but it has the most teeny tiny little growth point. Can you see? Can you see? It's super, super little, very cute. Unfortunately, the glare from the window makes this kind of obnoxious, but I have some cuttings. These are old sushi containers that I'm trying to upcycle, and I put some Cebu Blue little nodes in there because they tend to grow easily, and also, you know, I've got a million of them, so I figure this is a good experiment to see if this little container works. I've got my tiny little ZZ Raven over here. It hasn't grown anything new, and this is getting awesome light. So I'm hoping it'll kind of grow and put a new stalk out, but it has not since I've gotten it. A little snake plant that I got from IKEA a long time ago. Over here, I've got a bunch of my rehabs. This one right here is my Monstera Peru. It has been a very big disappointment for me, but it is cut back and it's growing back. Up here is my Pluminii, and it's got a new growth point coming off, so I'm excited to see what that one does. This one technically has a calathea in it. I'm not sure if that calathea survived. Back here I have another sort of propagation of 2 Pluminii nodes. And then this is actually a fun little experiment. These are some bulbs from my alocasia that I've put into these containers and put in water. And you can see that the little leaves are poking out. But this one right here, I have a little note here. My alocasia fridex are all in here, and 2 of them have sprouted leaves, and this one is taking its time, but it's still technically in there. And underneath that one, I have some alocasia mandalae, little nodes, I'm not sure, bulbs that I took out of the soil when I repotted them. And they're definitely growing roots. Some of them aren't doing so hot, but I do check them on occasion to make sure there's no rotten ones in there. And these ones are all still technically good, just some are taking their time and others are sprouting roots. I'm gonna make sure to put the lid on very loosely so it has a little bit of air circulation, but not a ton. But yeah, that's a fun experiment that I've been trying. On the second shelf here, I have, of course, almost all of my heartleaf philodendrons. On the second shelf here, I have a lot of heartleaf philodendrons. They probably won't stay here, and they'll probably move into my plant room at some point, but for right now, they are located here. I've got my standard heartleaf philodendron, a little micans back there that I actually did technically repot. Gave it a little bit more soil, so hopefully it does a little bit better. It's a little scraggly. I've got my philodendron Brazil, my micans that's doing really well. And then I have another Brazil sitting over here. Look at that leaf. I love Brazils so much. They're so pretty. As for the things on this shelf that are not philodendron, I have my Ficus elastica in the back. This is my top cutting that I made about a year ago, and it's put out a new leaf right there. And it's got another one, of course, on the way. I've got my Oxalis triangularis, the purple version that I have to spin constantly because it is always, always pushing for that sunlight. So I'm definitely rotating her all the time. I've got my really, really good Monstera adansonii over here. It's doing really well. Loving the pot I put it in. It's growing fantastic, especially in this window. It loves it over here. And from the other side, you can see how well it's doing. And then the one thing about this top shelf that I modified a little bit from the original purpose of this shelf is I actually did not put this top shelf up here. There's supposed to be one on top, but I have so many plants that would poke through. Like my euphorbia would poke through, my Ficus elastica would definitely poke through, so I decided to leave that open just so some taller plants could also sit in this window. Of course, I have my Scindapsus pictus over here. I still have problems saying it. Scindapsus pictus. I have my Ficus elastica, which is doing fantastic. It's super tall. I've got my really awesome philodendron cream splash. I also kind of did a quasi repot of that just to make sure everything was all in the same pot. I had one cutting of this that was in a different pot on accident, so I've made sure that they're all in the same pot now. I've got my one and only euphorbia, which is a dragon bone. It is doing okay. It has lost nothing and it has grown nothing, which for me, I consider a massive success. Very happy with it. Definitely gives a cool edge to the plant shelf, and it's super unique and I love it, and I'm glad it's here. And I'm going to push her aside just so slightly so you can see how my Monstera albo cuttings are doing. So this is my mother plant, and it's got a growth point. There's not a stitch of white on it, so we will see what happens with it. But check out those roots. That's one awesome thing about Monstera is they root so well, super fast. So I plan on potting those up very soon before it gets too cold out. It's still pretty warm around here, so I don't have any issues repotting in early fall because, you know, they're in a temperate environment inside. It's just the light that's the issue. Then on this side, of course, I have another string of hearts. This is one of 3 that I have, and it's actually flowering right now, which is adorable. They seem to flower for me all the time. And I just keep propagating them and making more of them because honestly I'm always afraid I'm about to kill them at any moment, so I make sure I have plenty going on so that no matter what, I have a few strings somewhere that are healthy and in good shape. So that is this shelf, and I will take you into my plant room next to show you the status of everything in there. So this is the beginnings of my plant room. It's a little echoey in here because there is literally no fabric in this whole room, so that is one thing I'm going to be doing in order to make sure it's ready for filming and everything like that. But I wanted to give you a quick little tour of everything in here and the setup I have going on. So this is what you see when you walk into the room. We have 2 windows on this side. This is a south facing and that's an east facing, but there is a gigantic bush outside the window, which I plan on trimming back pretty soon because it is really out of hand, so I want to trim it all the way back. On this side of the room, we have my wire shelf that was next to my dining room table that's in the back of a bunch of my more recent YouTube videos. And I've just got like random hodgepodge of stuff right now. I don't necessarily plan on putting plants on this shelf. This might be more for tools, supplies. You know, I've got some pots down there, but that's certainly not all the pots I have. So I'm thinking of kind of making this a little more utilitarian. All of the plants that are on it right now, all are dealing with spider mites. So they're also like kind of in quarantine together. I've got my wicked awesome Pluminii. And if you're wondering what floral nectaries are, that is what they are and what they look like. And they definitely make the plant not look so cute. I do plan on fixing this up at some point, just not quite yet. It's got 2 very long branches coming off that I definitely want to chop and prop, but I've cut off so many leaves that had spider mite problems, so, you know, it definitely needs some rehabilitation. Back here, I've got my poor little Zabrina that is still struggling, but mending itself slowly over time. Over here, I've got my ornata. It's already standing at attention in Calathea speak here, so let me turn it around so you can see the more pretty side with the lovely pinstripes on there. It's doing really well, and I think it's almost in full recovery, but I've got it over here and I'm still doing treatments for the time being. Down here, I've got my poor sad little white star over here, and it's rebounding. It's getting new leaves and stuff, so it's still in rehab, definitely. This is my Macchiana, which is definitely doing the best of all of my rehab plants. I am hoping to take this out of this area soon, hopefully put it on its own prominent little space on the shelf. The highlight of this room for sure is my Millsbow cabinet. I have this one set up a little different than the one in my living room. I actually put 2 shelves in here so that I could have basically 3 different levels as opposed to the other one, which only has 2. And I haven't finished up exactly how I want it, but I'll give you a brief rundown of what I have in here. Note that the humidity is crazy. I feel like I have to open the doors once a night just so it doesn't get too wet in here. But up top, I've got a bunch of alocasia, almost all the same alocasia. I've got a Frydek up here. I've got my little silver dragon right here, which has been growing super slowly, but this is the newest leaf on it. Very cute. Love it. I just kind of wish it would grow faster. And then I've got 3 dragon scale. I've got this one back here, my big one over here. Look at this brand new leaf. You can see the color difference, how it's a little bit lighter when it's brand new and then it kind of grays out. Oh, I love these plants so much. And then a little one in the front that someday might be a gift for somebody or sold. Don't know yet. We will find out, and it's dripping everywhere. The second shelf is a little bit more of a mix. I've got 2 Frydeks. Got this one, of course. I never get over how beautiful Frydeks are. This Frydek here, and then I've got a bunch of Calatheas. I've got my little rattlesnake back there, and she did put off a new leaf for me recently, so maybe it was the light was the issue, but she's doing a lot better. I've got my magic star. Should call her superstar because she looks fabulous. My rotundifolia, lovely. I've got my extra panes of glass behind there. Don't know what I'm going to do with those yet, but I got them stored back there right now. And then I've got my sanguine in the front, and it's, yeah, they're all doing really well. And you can see it's dropped down to 86 since I've opened this door and started talking to you, but holy cow, this thing holds moisture like nobody's business. And then in the bottom, I have my Maranta, of course, my lemon lime. It's still not doing too fabulous. It might have a bug problem now that I think about it, but at least it's in its own little separate area. And then I've got a bunch of cuttings. These are my Philodendron varicosums. I should probably address the elephant in the room, which is that this light is just kind of laying here, and that's just because I haven't installed it properly yet, and I've been lazy about it. So that's in there. And then here I have more Cebu blue propagations. I really don't need this many. I feel like the last few that I've made have not been selling super well, so I might stop propagating these altogether because they were like my go-to, but nobody's buying them right now. So that finishes off this cabinet, so we can go over here to this shelf, which is one of the IKEA ones. I did the same exact thing where I didn't put the top shelf in here just for taller plants. I've got this black coral snake plant that got a nice primo spot next to the window, but I didn't want to put the Calatheas too close to the window. Direct light's not the best for them. So over here I have my orbifolia, which is doing a lot better than it has been. This is a brand new leaf. Look how pretty she is. I will show you a picture. I have put this in a new pot because this is what it looked like when I checked on the roots of this plant. It basically looked like an alien had been taking over this poor thing. So what I did was I basically scored the sides of the root ball and then just repotted it in one of these wonderful Lacusa pots because I had one of these sitting around. And so I put a nice like moist soil mix in here, lots of aerating materials, but small aerating materials, and put it in that pot, and it seems so much happier. It's like it's gotten its first breath of air in years, and it's so happy. Next, I have this absolutely gorgeous Calathea Warskoweskii. Oh, so cute. Love her so much. Probably one of my all-time favorite Calatheas. Just how can you not just love how that looks? Love her. And she is so happy being up high, getting some light, but some ambient light. Then right below that, we've got my Rosiopicta Dottie, who's still doing really well. She's constantly putting out new leaves. Just very, very happy plant. And honestly, since it's been kind of getting some of this ambient light, it seems even happier than it was before, believe it or not. Then we go over to my scraggly begonia that I introduced you to at the last video. I actually did take it out of the pot and put some new soil medium in there. So I'm hoping that it keeps the moisture a little bit longer and it doesn't dry out super fast. So hopefully it's a little bit happier. Over here I took some of my cuttings from one of my micans and put it in here. Eventually that'll be a gift or sold, not too sure. We'll see what happens to it. And of course nothing on this shelf and more storage down below. But if you look this way to the window, I've got another of these IKEA shelving units. So this is my third one and you can just see how much space I have. I am so excited to finally spread my plants out, give them a little more breathing room and have them not quite so jam-packed and easier to look at, easier to see them, easier to spot problems, all that kind of stuff. Right now I don't have any plants down below, but that is because there's no light that hits down here. The light from the windows will kind of go over this area, so I didn't put anything here yet. Unlike the other shelf, I actually didn't put the shelf in here or up at the top, so this is only 2 levels of plants, hopefully, and then storage at the bottom. And what I have up top is basically a lot of rooted cuttings that I've repotted very recently. I've got more Cebu Blue Plothos, which hopefully I can give away or sell to somebody who wants it. I've got some of my lemon lime philodendron that I usually keep in my bathroom, but this is a nice little separate plant over here. I've got my whalefin sansevieria. I have a cutting of a Monstera deliciosa up here. I've got my very sad, unwieldy Adansonii. It's got a nice spot right in front of the window, so it has no excuse not to be happy anymore. And then over here, I actually took a massive amount of cuttings of my gloriosum, my philodendron gloriosum, and that's what these are. And they are super beautiful. I can't wait to put them into plants, but they've been in the water for 5 seconds, so absolutely no progress on that quite yet. And then down to the side, I of course have my trusty, reliable, gigantic Sansevieria that always gets put in the weirdest spots possible because it'll survive. The other things about this room that I probably want to point out is that I have a filtered fan to hopefully get some of the mold and particulate out of the air. And I bought this specifically for this room in mind. I only turned it off for this video, but usually it runs all day, all night. Then I also have this fan, which is for just blowing air and get air circulation in the room. This one's more about cleaning and that one's more about air circulation. So I've got both of those working in tandem to kind of make sure that there's always some airflow in this room. But that does it for this plant tour of my plant room. Once again, sorry for the echo. There is no fabric in here, nothing to absorb the sound. But that's going to change. I'm going to get a nice rug in here. I'm going to put a chair in here or 2 and hopefully be able to film in here in the future. But for right now, I just wanted to show you once it's starting to kind of take shape and sort of have a plan for what this room is going to look like. Hopefully it'll be done soon so I can give you a full official tour of everything in the house and it'll be beautiful and awesome. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to give this video a like, comment, subscribe, all of those things, and I will catch you next time. Bye!